And I rolled my eyes when I read that.
I don't know if I rolled my eyes.
I did.
But I do think my little inner voice said, really?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Bookish Introverts podcast. Join host Amazon bestselling author Brett Nelson and avid reader Melanie Dyer as they dive in to review books they've read, then chat with the amazing authors behind them. Quiet minds, big bookshelves. You don't want to miss it.
Hey everyone, it's Brett and Melanie, and we're back for another book talk. Today we are discussing A Trial of Innocence by Michael Swiger. I believe it's pronounced Swiger.
I think it's Swiger. That's how I pronounced it.
If Michael ever hears this, I hope I pronounced your last name right. So
If we got it wrong, Michael, email her and tell her what you think of it. Her email address is...
No. No.
Oh, you're no fun. I like drama.
I like to watch drama.
If it's on TV, you like it.
No. I don't want to be involved in the drama. Just a spectator with the popcorn.
Well, okay.
So would you like to do the honors of the bio? Or...
We're kind of switched roles today.
Yeah, a little bit.
So you may have to help me. I'm not used to doing bios. So, like you said, Trial of Innocence by Michael Swiger. Michael Swiger, in 2007, he marked the beginning of a new phase in his publishing career when he signed a 3-year book deal with Capstone Fiction. So that's pretty cool to get a 3-year book deal. I'm still trying to get one of those. Nobody wants me. In 2012, Michael founded the True Freedom Ministries, an evangelical nonprofit organization dedicated to reaching people locked in jails and prisons, the homeless, and those trapped in addiction.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That's a nice ministry.
Yes, it is.
Under his leadership, True Freedom has grown to become Ohio's largest prison ministry with 14 paid staff and 115 volunteers. In 2018, he founded a faith-neutral nonprofit organization dedicated to prisoner reentry, specializing in workforce empowerment, post-release education, and transitional housing. He has written 6 legal thrillers.
Wow!
So he's doing some pretty cool things.
That's a really interesting ministry.
Yeah,
and it not a lot of people reach out in that capacity. I mean, I know there are prison ministries and things like that out there, but
they need
you don't hear about them very often.
No, you don't. And that's a pretty rough ministry dealing with people in prison. I mean, I don't want to generalize.
It is
prisoners, but a lot of them are in jail for a reason. They're not probably so. Yeah, that's true.
I do feel like I need to point out that the title of the book is A Trial of Innocence, INNOCENTS. So that kind of changes. Instead of CENCE, we're talking about, that was the first thing that struck me about the title. I was like, oh, okay. So we've got innocent people on trial.
Yeah.
Obviously. Before I even read the summary, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So someone is going to be on trial that's innocent. I don't know if it's everyone involved or just a couple of people.
Yeah.
But I liked the title. The play, because
the play on words.
When you hear the word innocence, you usually just think of the one spelled CENCE. But I liked what they did there.
Yeah.
I liked what he did with that.
Yeah, that was a cool play of words that he did.
It was.
Because it makes you going into it when you have that little play on words, it kind of gives you that little extra little suspense. Into it what's this going to be about?
It's a good way to use the tricky nature of the English language and spelling.
Exactly. And it's also why people get confused with the English language.
Yes, it is. Not an easy language to learn.
No, it's not at all. So going into it, I think we ought to say up front, if this story does have a heavy topic of abortion.
Very heavy topic.
Yeah, I'm not really into trigger warnings, but people probably ought to know that in the discussion, we will be talking about abortion just because it's included in the story. So if you are sensitive to that, we just want you to know that up front. So where do you want to start? Let's talk about this book. Actually, I know where I want to start.
Okay.
May I take the floor first? Or do women get to take the floor first? Okay, so the main character's name is Daniel.
Yes.
Daniel Solomon. He's one of the main characters. He was a lawyer. Is that right? Was he
Yes.
the one that was a lawyer?
He's a lawyer. He's a defender.
A defender. Mm-hmm.
Not a public defender, I believe. Because he takes the case pro bono. So he's not a public defender.
Yeah.
He's not assigned by the state.
Yeah.
He is apparently a lawyer with a very good reputation.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes the case pro bono as a favor to a friend of his who works in a prison ministry.
Yeah.
So
there's the little tie to his real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I think he started publishing in 2007, so I'm wondering so maybe the prison ministry was in his heart before he actually started doing it.
Maybe researching this and
but I do have one petty complaint about the character of Daniel.
Okay.
It absolutely irritated me how his name was spelled. Please tell me you agree.
He's not the only one.
You're not oh good, I'm not the only one.
So I have a thing about names. Anyone that knows me knows I have a thing about names. They need to be spelled correctly. Please stop putting extra Y's
cutesy names.
IGHs and things where they don't belong. They just don't belong.
Yeah.
So it was distracting to me at first that it was spelled Daniel. I was like, is it Daniel or is it like, is it pronounced differently? I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was pronounced differently. Figured it was Daniel. It took me a while to get past that. It really did.
Yeah.
It was just distracting to me.
Yeah.
Every time I saw it.
Yeah. And for some reason I kept when my eye would skim his name, like sometimes it would my mind would see it as denial or something. Yeah. And I'm unlike you. I'm not typically one who is critical of character names, even if they're, I'm not usually critical about stuff like that, but I hated his name from the very beginning. Now there was about halfway through the book, maybe a little more than halfway through the book, he did disclose to a character why his name was spelled that way.
Why his name was spelled that way. And I'm not going to spoil it.
Well,
but I wasn't
going to spoil it. Is it bad?
He can spoil it. I don't know.
It's it was a pretentious reason.
It seemed a little silly to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean.
No, we're not trying to be mean.
It just seemed.
But we're discussing books, and sometimes discussing books means nitpicking on a few things. Yeah. And as an author, I hate when readers nitpick, but we all do it.
We do.
Yeah. So the reason, do you mind if I tell?
If you want to go ahead and tell.
Is that a spoiler?
That's fine. It's not really a spoiler.
Yeah.
I just,
Because, I'll be honest with me. As I was reading it, the whole time, I was like, why is it freaking spelled this way? It annoyed me.
It was good to get an explanation.
Yes.
I appreciate getting an explanation.
Yeah.
I just didn't really appreciate the explanation.
Yeah. So the reason his name was spelled with an A-L, D-A-N-I-A-L, instead of the traditional D-A-N-I-E-L, is that and Daniel's a Christian guy. And
yes, he is one of the Christians.
Yeah, one of the Christians in the book. And the reason he spelled it that way is because his name was originally spelled the traditional way, but he didn't like that his name ended with E-L because E-L is a Hebrew name for God. And he didn't feel like he was worthy to have God's name in his name. And I rolled my eyes when I read that.
I don't know if I rolled my eyes.
I did.
But I do think my little inner voice said, really?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. And then I laughed at what the guy said next, which was a really mean thing to say, but I laughed at what he said anyway.
I don't remember. I may have been rolling my eyes and skipped it.
I think he said you've overestimated my interest in
Yes.
the story of your name.
That's right.
I
Yes.
was like, ouch.
So maybe the author even knew that.
I don't know. It's possible. It's possible.
Was the guy he was talking to a Christian? I can't remember who he said that to. Okay.
No, it was.
So that could have been why.
I think it was the guy that's like over the hospital administrator.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sims. I think. John Sims.
Okay. See, I don't even remember that character.
Oh,
so.
I remember that. But yeah. John Sims.
I hope nobody thinks that's a spoiler, but that's a pretty significant part of the book.
I don't think it's a spoiler.
So.
I'm very particular.
Well, and my thought was, okay, Daniel in the lion's den wore the name very well.
Already in the book.
Yeah.
So
if Daniel in the lion's den felt worthy to have his name spelled that way,
then
podunk guy in 2004 can deal with it. I have a little bit of a sassy attitude. Don't act like you didn't.
Wild underestimation of the circumstances.
No. So the premise of the story, you are so much better at synopsizing books than I am, so jump in. A special needs guy.
Yes.
Is caught savagely beating a pregnant woman.
A police officer sees him beating a pregnant woman.
In her house.
In her house. Clearly someone
so he was an intruder.
Broken into this home. It's a higher tax bracket.
Yes.
Thought I was looking for it. Higher.
Honey, they rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may not be rich, but they're well off.
They're well off, yeah.
And clearly someone has broken in. The silent alarm goes off, and so the cops go there and catch him on top of this woman. Not on top of this woman, but he's punching her.
Mm-hmm.
He's not doing anything else. He's punching her.
Yeah. There was nothing sexual about
it. She is pregnant, heavily pregnant.
Yeah, or late trimester.
7 months, 8 months, I think.
Yeah.
And she slips into a coma. They get her out of there. They get her in the ambulance, and she slips into a coma. So, she's in danger. The baby's in danger.
Mm-hmm.
You in danger, girl.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Not to make light of the situation, but it's a very sad
situation. A dire situation
all the way around, because it's also, her husband had died.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a spoiler. That's in the beginning of the book.
The very beginning of the book, yeah.
Her husband had passed away 3 days before.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes into play in the trial and everything. So it's all around a sad situation. But they've caught this man, witnessed him beating on her chest.
And it's hard to defend a guy that is caught in the act.
Yes. Yeah. Hard to defend someone who's, straddling a woman and beating on her chest. That's not good.
And I'll tell you, as an author, you learn real fast. There are certain things you do not put in a book. Do not kill a dog or a cat in a book. Even if your readers love the book, they will give you a 1 star because a dog died. Dogs die, but heaven forbid, do not kill a dog in a book. The readers don't like when babies are, and I don't either. It's not a pretty reality in life.
No.
So when I was reading this, I was like, dude, you are treading on water here, because you have got a pregnant woman being savagely beaten.
Right off the bat.
And the baby is in the balance. An unborn baby, although depending on who the reading audience is, conceivably you think the reading audience is going to be Christian readers. Non-Christian readers are probably not going to be too concerned about a possible baby dying, because, it's not a human until it's born, even if it's 9 months old, 9 months in the womb. But then I was like, you also kind of have the stigma of depicting a special needs person.
Yes, that is also
so I was like, oh, dude, you're treading on thin ice on several areas.
They don't say he has Down syndrome, and I don't believe he does. I think his IQ level is just very low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think they don't say anything about
like autism or
well, I don't know that autism would have been a.
Is that considered special needs?
I don't know that it would have been a word used a whole lot in 2007. Like in the, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. But in the book description, he's labeled as a special need.
Yeah, you're given to understand that he's just slow.
Yeah, he's slow. That's a good way to put it. He's emotionally slow.
They don't say anything about Down syndrome the entire time.
No, they really, they never really
he's
gave
just
a diagnosis to him.
A very big guy and rough looking and not particularly bright.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be mean. He's just a very low level IQ.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And apparently a low functioning low IQ.
Yes.
That's kind of what I.
Yeah. So Daniel's the first person we get. He the first person we get introduced to on his way to the house after Andy, his friend Andy calls him.
Yeah, I believe so. Mm-hmm.
We've got there's a couple of cops.
Mm-hmm. And I don't remember their names.
They're okay.
Yeah.
They're not the best cops.
Yeah.
I don't think they're necessarily horrible, but they're not the best.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of them is not horrible.
Yeah.
So those are the Daniel's the main protagonist. Then you've got Andy.
Dorothy is the woman who got beat, the pregnant woman.
Dorothy, yes.
Wasn't her name? Mm-hmm.
I believe so.
Her husband was John, but he was dead when the book started.
I believe her name is Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
Andy and Marianne.
Well, I think it was because I remember thinking Golden Girls.
Andy and Marianne are a couple that Daniel is friends with, very good friends with, and he takes this case at Andy's request because Andy knows this guy's going to need help.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else? Those are our main protagonists.
Laurie
is not our protagonist.
No, girl, I gotta say, again, I am not
a protagonist.
I am not one to dislike to dislike antagonists. I think most antagonists.
You need an antagonist.
Antagonist, yeah. Even though they're ugly, and don't do great things, they do add texture, and they do serve a purpose in books.
Yes.
Laurie, I did not like her in any way, shape, or form. She was the most horrible person I've ever read in a book in a while.
She was.
And she's a overachieving, would you consider her overachieving? She's a lawyer.
I don't know that I consider her overachieving because
especially once you got later into the
pretty
book.
Underhanded about some of it. Overachievers, I feel like, will work their hardest.
Yeah.
No matter what it takes them to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. She's like
but she takes shortcuts and she's a lazy overachiever.
She's like the lawyer version of a dirty cop.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen, and I don't think as a woman, and I know I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this.
Are you trying to be politically correct?
I'm not trying to be politically correct. I'm just trying to think of what I'm trying to say.
Uh-huh.
When you have a female antagonist in a book, which this is definitely a female antagonist in a book, and the book is written by a man.
Yes. It can be tricky.
It can be very tricky because guys think, and you know what, the reverse is true as well.
Yeah.
Guys think they know what a woman thinks and
They can barely write.
I'm here to tell you, most of y'all don't have a clue.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be mean. You guys seem to have very simple ways. I swear, I'm not saying you're stupid. It's just your mind works.
Women
at a
are
different
complex,
level.
and it's hard to write a complex woman, I guess.
And my husband has told me this, he sits down and he watches TV and he just thinks about the TV show he's watching.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he thinks about.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
How do you do that? I can't do that.
Well, like, what do you do?
Oh, I'll sit down and watch a TV show, but there's like a million thoughts running through my brain. Like if you go, or if you're, I'll sit down and I'll be watching a TV show and then something will hit me. Okay. Say I'm watching something that I really want to watch. It's like a period drama and I see this dress that's just gorgeous. I'm, oh, what a gorgeous dress. Look at that. Look at this, look at that. What a pretty color of silver. Mm-hmm. And then my mind jumps from subject to subject, but I'm still watching the show. But there's all of these thoughts careening around in my head. Remember that scene in Gilmore Girls? When Lorelai has to write the letter, writing a letter. I don't know how to write a letter. Casablanca, the Germans wore this and monkey underpants.
Yeah.
That is literally almost every woman I've ever known. It's just, it's constant.
I don't do that. I just watch it. Well, and a perfect example is in this book. I can't remember if you texted me or if I texted you something about the book. And you mentioned something about it. I was like, oh, well, I never even noticed that. So, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Anyway.
But yeah, that's most women I know. And most guys I've ever talked to have been like, why don't you just stop thinking?
I never think about her gorgeous sweater.
I can't.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Does that feel like a burden sometimes? Like, do you ever just want to sit down and watch a movie and just like brainlessly watch a TV show or movie?
I mean, sometimes it does.
That feels like burdensome.
But it's also, this is how I've been since I was a kid, so I'm pretty used to it. Mm-hmm. It came as a shock to me that guys weren't like that. I had no idea.
Guys are different than you. How shocking that a guy is.
I'm sure there are women out there who do not have those thought processes, and there are probably guys out there who do.
Yeah.
We're all different, but as a general rule.
Yeah, and you are a pretty analytical person, just in general.
I can be, but you have to make me be.
Oh, really? See, I view you as a very analytical person.
You have to request me to be analytical.
Oh, okay.
Mostly I'm emotional.
Maybe it's because I'm empty-headed, and so you seem very analytical to me.
You're not empty-headed. That's not what I was saying. I said beforehand. Anyway, I know he tried to give her nuance.
Yes.
And I have seen women, fictional characters. You don't know who she is, but Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones is a good example. Not a Christian book. Don't run out and read it. If you're only reading Christian fiction.
Yeah.
And I'm only going off the TV show because I've never read the books, but I know I've heard from other people. She's a very complex character, and you can kind of, she does horrible, horrible things, and her background does not excuse what she does. Mm-hmm. But you can kind of understand how she got to where she is.
Yeah.
You can understand her thought processes. They're crazy, but you can understand how she got there. Laurie's just mean.
She's just mean.
She's just a horrible, selfish person.
Yeah, like she literally, she's a little bit like you think Hector was in Woman from Lydia. Laurie really had no redeeming qualities.
She didn't. She didn't. There were a couple of times when I thought we were going to get.
And we're going to do a spoiler. We're going to do a spoiler zone at the end because I want to get into some of the despicable things that she did, but I don't want to ruin that for anyone that might read it. So we're definitely going to do a spoiler zone. Yeah.
She's just mean for no reason. And I think the only reason she needs are this person is a man, or this person is a Christian, or I don't like the color of that person's shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be mean to them.
Yes.
I think she's just a mean person. And it's a little off-putting. I really thought we were coming close a couple of times to getting a little bit of backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is the first in a series.
Yes.
I don't know if
true.
these characters are also in the rest of the books and if we get a little more backstory on her, which is fine.
And I got to be honest, I don't think I'll be moving to the second or the third one.
I don't know if I will or not.
I may.
I'm not a thriller person anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a book I chose, so this was out of my
I was really excited to read it because I love legal thrillers. And on the Amazon description, I cringed before I even read it because it said, if you love John Grisham or James Patterson, you will love this book.
You don't like either of them?
No, I love John
him.
Grisham.
Okay.
Yeah. And I used to read Patterson years ago. I don't read him as much anymore. But I have read every book John Grisham has. And I never, in my own books, I never say, if you love this famous author, you'll love my books, because as soon as you do that, what do you think your very first review is going to be? This person's nothing like Mary Higgins Clark. This author's nothing like James Patterson. This author's nothing like...
That's true. That's true.
And this author is nothing like John Grisham. Have you ever read any of his books?
I haven't. Again, not a thriller.
Okay, yeah.
Just not a thriller.
John Grisham writes primo legal thrillers. In my opinion, John Grisham has more than his fair share of haters. I'm not saying that,
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, he's not for everyone, because no author is. But the minute I saw that, I was like, dude, you are brave. Now, if a reviewer says, hey, read Brett's books, if you love blah 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 author, you're going to love his books.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll take that. But I'm not about to put any famous person's name to my books, because you're just asking to be abused in a review.
If I could ever get a book written and published, I'd be terrified to do that. To be honest,
I just think that's something you accept that if the author, if readers give you that designation. But
expectations.
Yeah,
high.
It does. It puts an expectation on the book, and if the book doesn't meet that level of the John Grisham book, it's going to leave your readers disappointed.
Yeah.
So
one of the things, Laurie is very condescending to Daniel simply because he's a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And she thinks that, it's okay for her to be condescending to him.
And she calls him Bible boy.
Bible boy.
That's rude. On the job. I'm like, people, decorum, professional decorum.
Yeah.
She has none.
I honestly don't see her. Well, she has help. She knows people. It is who you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
and to Daniel's credit, when she was calling him Bible boy, he never responded in the lie. So in that way, he did act like
he did not
nobody's
react.
a perfect Christian, but in that aspect, he did put forth a Christian behavior.
I don't have any problems with Daniel. My only problem with Daniel is his name.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got Andy and Marianne,
mm-hmm.
who have a daughter, Erin. We learn in flashbacks that Andy and Marianne, without going into spoiler territory, she had a very difficult pregnancy,
mm-hmm.
and then lost the baby and was told, no more pregnancies. You will die
mm-hmm.
if you have another pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, whatevs.
Mm-hmm.
Got pregnant again. Doctor's mad. This, by the way, is a very international place for a relatively small area in Ohio, because the doctor's Russian, and then there's an Italian volunteer.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
where are these people coming from?
Yeah,
but that's neither here nor there. she gets pregnant again, and then something goes wrong late in the pregnancy, and there's a procedure.
Okay, can we hold that thought for a second? Do you mind if I interject something here? Okay. So yes, Andy and Marianne, they have a very risky nature. They are told, do not have another baby. It could put your life and your baby's life. And this is one thing, the way Andy and Marianne approached this pregnancy really gave me the eeks, because she and her husband were like, oh, well, okay, the surgery. There was a surgery. Is that where you were going?
Yeah.
Okay, say that, and then I'll say what I was going to say. Yeah.
So she does get pregnant again, and her doctor's furious at her. And this brought some memories from my family, things I've been told that happened before I was born. But the pregnancy, to the doctor's surprise, goes pretty smoothly up until, what is it? I think the eighth month. And then she starts having sudden issues. And they have to take her to the hospital. And that's when the surgery comes into play. And it's a very risky procedure.
It could kill her and the baby.
Yes.
And this is where I kind of got the eeks, because the doctor told them, if you have this surgery, not only could you die, your baby could die. And I can't remember if it was Marianne or if it was Andy, but one of them tells her, well, let's go ahead and have the surgery because God won't let anything bad happen to me. And that is just so not, I understand being positive and trusting in God.
I appreciate their faith and their
they do have a good faith.
Solid faith, because it's very difficult to have.
Yeah, and you do need
a solid faith and mindset like that. It is important to have faith.
But I think it's dangerous to have, okay, I don't want to say
do
this.
Do not tempt me.
Yes. And I kind of feel like it's what they did, because they said, God is not going to let anything bad happen to me. Well, that's just not a given. God could use that. The Bible says that he has a time and a place for us all to die.
That's true.
Maybe this surgery is God's way of taking you. Maybe was his plan from the time you were born for you to get pregnant, have a baby, and die in the surgery. So I just kind of cringed at that. It's good to have faith, but I felt like it was a little overzealous.
I think it might have been a little better if it was. And maybe my faith just isn't strong enough. And that's why I think it would have been better to have a little bit of wavering from one or the other.
Yeah.
I can understand Marianne having that mindset. If my husband and I were in the same position, I think my husband would freak out. And he would probably say, you do everything you can to save my wife.
Well, if I was married, that's exactly what I would say too. I mean,
and then we would argue.
Yeah. Now, as if you were in that situation as a woman, if it came down to, we can do this surgery, but if we do, it's going to kill you, or if we don't have the surgery, it's going to kill you. If it's one or the other, you as a mother, what would you choose?
I believe I would choose the baby.
You would choose the baby. See, as a husband,
I've asked myself that several times. Yeah. I don't know if that's normal, but I do a lot of things that aren't normal.
That's a horrible situation.
I don't have any kids. I've never been pregnant, but I have, again, that's the thoughts that careen around in your head.
Yeah.
I have always maintained that I would. Now, you never know until you're faced with the actual moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I could. I just don't think I could carry a child and then say, pick me.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. I unless I was faced with that exact situation, I can't say for certain. Mm-hmm. But I believe my instincts would be to save the baby, just as hers were.
Yeah.
And she had a huge longing for a baby. They both did. They wanted a child, had been trying for 10 years.
And even as a husband, that would be a horrible decision to make, because
yes,
I would want my wife to live. If I were married, if that were me, I would want my wife to live. And, and it would kill me, the thought of losing my child that I desperately wanted. But I would want my wife because, I mean, I've been married to her for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, however much. And you can always have another baby, which you can always have another wife too. But I don't know. That's
a different book.
Yeah, that's a different book. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it.
It was an
interesting... As I read, that conundrum sort of rattled around in my mind. It was a little
much.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate their show of faith.
Did you feel it was melodramatic?
Some,
yeah.
It didn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I did feel it was a little too much.
Yeah.
As I was reading. But I really liked Andy and Marianne.
Yeah. They did exemplify strong
faith. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You need characters that have strong faith.
Yeah. But again, I tend to be, I like to think I have a strong faith. But again, you have to be realist too. You can't be so blind. You can't be so blind-faithed that you say, oh, God's going to get us through this. I understand positive thinking and having faith, but you also have to be a realist and say, okay, this is a surgery. There are real medical risks here. No matter how much I love God and no matter how much he loves me, no matter how faithful I am and how faithful he is to me, I could still die.
Yeah. And for a normal person, that's always going to be in the back of your head. Even
but they didn't seem to have that side of it.
No.
So anyway.
Not quite realistic, but that's okay.
And maybe there are people out there that are like that. So
if there are, I would love to have their
congratulations.
I don't think I do.
Yeah.
I would like to have it, but Laurie's the apple doesn't fall far from the tree with Laurie.
No.
Her mother is not a pleasant person.
Yeah.
I thought in a couple of ways she was a little more pleasant than Laurie. She had a run-in with Erin, the little 7-year-old girl of Andy and Marianne, and she was very sweet to her.
I think they were at Laurie's employment at the courthouse.
they were at the courthouse.
Yeah.
She wasn't very nice to Laurie, though.
No.
So I think she's nicer to strangers than she is her own daughter, which is sad and might explain why Laurie is the way she is. But
Laurie and her mom are both Karens, that's for sure.
They are Karens.
But Laurie is the bigger Karen of the two.
I don't think this is a spoiler, but this astounded me that anyone would do this. Laurie is the product of a one-night stand.
Mm-hmm.
Laurie is the product of a one-night stand purposefully orchestrated by her mother to get pregnant.
Oh, as a man, that infuriates me.
Like, she legitimately, I'm going to get pregnant. I'm going to go find someone to get me pregnant.
Yeah. And women think men are horrible.
I mean, it's before IVF, before,
yes, this
times
was like
were different.
70s.
It would have been, I don't know when IVF came around. It would have been, this is 2007.
It was back in the future.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Laurie's probably in her early 30s.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say it's before, certainly before she could probably afford IVF. She decided she wanted a child, and so instead of at least finding a boyfriend,
she tricked a guy.
She just went out and got pregnant. And I don't know if she hit the guy up for child support or not, but judging by Laurie, she probably did.
Well, she probably would. I mean, yeah. I don't think it ever said whether she got it or not.
That's not cool. I mean, if you have a one-night stand and get pregnant, that's one thing, but purposefully?
Yeah.
You don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
Like, he could be a psychopath.
Exactly.
Then you have a psycho baby. Then what do you do then?
Yeah.
Then you're on an episode of Law and Order SVU.
Again, totally different book.
And who knows who you're going to have to deal with then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Abortion is just a very heavy topic in this.
It is.
And I don't know. Are we heading into spoiler territory with that particular storyline, or
if it's a spoiler, we will. I mean, if it's not a spoiler, let's go into it. We've told them up front that, so I say we talk about it. So again, if you're sensitive to that,
Laurie's, we get a little bit of backstory on Laurie. I said earlier we don't really, but we do get some. We just don't get any that helps explain why she is the way she is, because even the backstory, she's already that way.
Yeah.
She's in university, or no, she's graduated from law school, I believe. She has a boyfriend. Her boyfriend makes a decent living. And she gets pregnant on purpose. So that he'll feel obligated to marry her. Things fall apart in the relationship. As a relationship like that, you would expect that to happen. And she's always...
And I wonder if she knew that her mother got pregnant.
Oh, I imagine she did. Her mom probably
via
told her.
that. And so if that, because it's also very coincidental that the mother and the daughter both did that. So, and did he ever answer? I don't remember.
He never did show up.
Yeah. So I'm like, I wonder if she knew, and that's how she got the idea of it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway. Yeah.
But the idea is, actually, I never quite understood what the idea was. Well, what was her long-term goal? Because all of a sudden she gets this job offer across the country that her mom orchestrates. And was her long-term goal always to have a late-term abortion?
Yes.
Because that doesn't make any sense.
Let's see. Yeah, she wants to have a late-term abortion. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was something I missed, but
I don't get that.
In my mind, she had the intention of having an abortion.
But her plan only works out if her mom manages to get her a job halfway across the country. And that's what happens, but it doesn't happen until she's already
I think maybe
8 months pregnant.
I think maybe that's what it was. If she didn't get the job, I'm kind of if she didn't get the job, then she was going to keep the baby. If she did get the job, then she could have an abortion.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was a little convoluted.
I'll be honest. This book.
It was a little convoluted.
Yeah, it was a little bit convoluted, and I always knew
where he was going, but
yeah,
sometimes it went the long way around.
I'm not usually a skimmer when I read books, but I did skim some in this book, so I could have missed some details.
It was there. The doctor she winds up in Ohio, which is where Andy and Marianne are, and Marianne is currently pregnant and having difficulties with her baby. So then Laurie's scheduled for her thing.
Pen.
Oh, pen.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to give sign language, so I didn't interrupt.
I just have lots of thoughts.
Yes.
I can't read.
Yeah.
Sign language isn't what I speak. She winds up in Ohio. She makes an appointment at the hospital to have a late-term abortion, and which she's 8 months along at the time. Marianne is 7 months along at the time, I think. So Marianne is in having her emergency issue at the same time that Laurie shows up to have her abortion. And the only person in the hospital who is licensed to perform this, trained to perform this late-term abortion, is the doctor of Marianne. He is morally opposed to performing. I don't know if it was abortions of any kind or late-term abortions, but he was morally opposed to them. But he was the only doctor there. He was required to be trained by his boss. And so he winds up having to take care of both of them at the same time. And that's when he has this.
I think this is a spoiler.
That's when he has an idea.
Yes. We'll talk about the idea. Is that a spoiler? Do you consider that a spoiler?
It's probably a spoiler. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I would go into it if you want.
It's really difficult to not spoil anything because you're getting into.
Yeah. Well, and actually,
read the book before you go any further.
Yeah. Go. You know what?
Or if you don't want to read the book, just listen to us for the rest of the time.
Do you want to just not have a spoiler zone and just
no
talk about it?
No spoiler zone.
No spoiler zone.
It's been a long time. It's been a long day. I need a no spoiler zone tonight.
Okay, let's just let's go ahead and tell it then.
So, bless his heart, he's trying. He thinks it's sad that Marianne wants a baby so bad that she would put her own life at risk. And then Laurie's over here, doesn't care anything about this baby. And it is sad. It's a very sad thing, but his plan. I give him props. It's so funny at the same time. Mm-hmm. He pulls the fire alarm in the hallway.
Which is kind of a remedial way.
It's a little bit of a remedial, but you know what? Sometimes the best plans are the most basic.
And it was a fast-paced, got to do this now or it's not going to
it's a hospital. You got to do this. You got to do this. So he has an assistant with him, and they give Laurie a little more anesthetic. He delivers her baby. He already knows at this point that Andy and Marianne's baby
is not
surviving. Something about the kidneys and just not surviving. So he manages to get, I don't remember all the details, but he manages to get it to where it looks like Laurie's aborted baby has been put where the aborted babies go. Mm-hmm. And Andy and Marianne's baby is in the
the bassinet. Whatever the version of that is in a hospital. Yeah.
I can't with the words of the putting together.
That plastic thing that has the dome on it. And I can't remember what it's called.
So everyone's running around like a chicken with their head cut off because the fire alarm's going off and it's a hospital. And really, there are people in ICU. I didn't think about this at the time, but there's people in ICU at this hospital. People are going nuts. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So everyone sees him coming down the hall with this bassinet that clearly marks this is Andy and Marianne's baby. And then he's dead.
Yes.
Drops dead.
He makes the switch.
Right there. Makes the switch. That is his last act, which I think is kind of sad because we don't know if he was not a Christian at the beginning of all this. But he seemed to gain a little bit of faith in God throughout Andy and Marianne's pregnancy. And I'm like, well, wait, is that it?
Yeah.
Poor Dr. Baryshov.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting his death. Yeah. I wasn't expecting his demise.
He died.
Yeah.
That was sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was not expecting that. It was out of nowhere. But yeah, that was just, I was like, well, and it is true. Sometimes the most basic plans are the ones that work.
Yeah.
It's a little unfair to Andy and Marianne, though, because now they have this little girl, no idea that she's not biologically theirs. And it doesn't matter, really, that she's not biologically theirs. She is their child.
Yeah.
They've raised her. She loves them. They love her. The blood relation does not matter. Mm-hmm. But it is unfair, really, to all involved. Even Laurie. I'll be nice. Even Laurie. Mm-hmm. But that leads to another conflict in the story.
Yeah.
So that's the main backstory of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it does feel like sometimes all that takes precedence over the trial. I mean, the trial is, you feel like throughout the book that what was his name? I can't remember his name.
The doctor?
No, the one being accused of, I've forgotten his name.
Oh,
I feel bad.
Well, the brother's name was Ralph.
Ralph. You kind of feel like from the beginning that he's innocent. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's called a trial of innocence.
Yeah.
So clearly there's something going on. The question is what?
What? Yeah. Because then once it got into the abortion, it's like, okay, maybe that's the innocence he's talking about. So
what are we doing here? And that's where the mystery is. But there's also a little bit of a mystery regarding Laurie and her relationship with Andy and Marianne. That also comes into play because since we're not doing a spoiler zone, Dorothy's baby, the woman who was beaten, she dies. The baby dies like the night Dorothy is taken to the hospital. Whoever beat her wounded the baby severely, and the baby does not live. So the whole trial is for burglary, assault, and murder of the unborn child because it was unborn at the time. So Laurie is the prosecutor in this case, and she's prosecuting for murder. And that's where the irony comes in when she is responsible for aborting a child no older. I think she was 8 months along, and Dorothy is as well, 8 months along.
Yeah.
And that's where Daniel finds his little loophole.
And I thought the irony in that was so strong that she so cold-heartedly intentionally got pregnant just to turn around and abort it. And she had intentions all along. If da-da-da-da-da doesn't happen, I'm going to have an abortion. Or if da-da-da does happen, I'm going to have an abortion. So she very cold-heartedly was calculating and that she was probably going to have an abortion. But then in this trial, she sort of is...
She's leaning on the jury's emotions. This man killed a baby.
Yeah, and like, you killed a baby. You killed a baby. Yeah, all of a sudden it's a baby.
It's not that Daniel knows Laurie's past because he doesn't.
He doesn't. Yeah.
He's just saying, and I've seen this used on when a pregnant woman is killed on a TV show or a movie, or I've seen this used as well. It's abortion, so why are we prosecuting for murder? What's the difference?
Yeah.
And that's his that's his loophole to get in because he's finding it very difficult. The odds are against him in every way. There's a witness. The witness is a cop. He can't find that. He finds out that his client has a brother. He can't find the brother. No one can find the brother. He has this detective. Oh my gosh, the detective. Do you think he knows what the detective does? Because some of the stuff that detective did, I'm like, that's not cool.
Yeah, that's not cool.
That's not cool at all. Yeah. Does Daniel know? Because I don't think he would approve, but he doesn't ask.
He doesn't ask. Yeah.
So if he's a character in the other books, that's probably something that comes up later as well.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, is he going to find out about this? Because this is not good.
Yeah.
This would never fly on Law and Order.
Exactly.
This is the kind of trouble. This is the kind of stuff Elliot gets in trouble for. You can't do this.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me.
But then again, on Law and Order, they probably have real people that are in the industry, that are helping them get this stuff right. And I don't really think this guy did. I think he just...
Well, the thing with that guy is he's a private detective.
Yeah.
So as long as he keeps it, under the table, then no one needs to know. And that's why Daniel doesn't know. I'm sure Daniel doesn't know because he seems like a stand-up guy and he would not approve of some of the methods this private detective uses.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised he doesn't ask. But we've got the abortion defense, sort of. And Laurie is just very unpleasant to everyone. The run-in with the Lewises, Andy and Marianne and Aaron, at the courthouse is when Joanne realizes she looks so much like you, her daughter, when you were a little girl.
Yeah,
she
these startling blue eyes.
Yes, her hair and her eyes, neither of which Andy and Marianne have. And Laurie's like, oh yeah, well, that gets her to thinking, is it possible? So then she starts all these legal proceedings to get like a DNA test and
which would your mind go there? Because like if you thought the baby was aborted, like I'm not sure my mind would go like, oh my goodness, that child looks so much like me. Could it be mine?
I guess because she was so out of it, that's where her mind went. Yeah. I really don't remember much about the procedure. I was a little more asleep than I thought I would be.
Yeah.
And Dr. Baryshov did not make any bones about the fact that he wasn't happy about doing this. So
yes, he was very clear.
Yeah, he was very clear.
He did it under duress.
Yes, he pretty much made his displeasure known to her in no uncertain terms. So I'm sure she thought, well, what if this crazy doctor?
This is true.
And
I didn't think about it from that point. But yeah, there could be a niggle, like especially when you see a child that looks that much like you, and your mom has commented, "Oh my goodness, look, this child looks just like you."
Yeah,
that could put a niggle of in your mind.
And I mean, she's smart. She's an attorney. She's not that smart because she cheated on her exam. Spoiler.
Yes.
But she is an attorney, and she's apparently fairly good, even without the propping up. But she does the DNA testing, and she's decided, opportunist that she is, oh, well, the babies were switched at birth. I could get all kinds of money from the hospital for this. Yes. I wouldn't even have to practice law anymore.
I can get $1 million for this. Yeah.
Who is this woman? She's just horrible.
She's atrocious.
She's awful.
Yeah.
So she's really just not an antagonist you can root for at all.
No. I was even annoyed by her. And like I said, I'm not usually annoyed by antagonists, but I was annoyed by her.
She was awful. So that's her plan. And then when she feels like Daniel is closing in on something in his case, she's like, well, I'll just make it even worse and I'll file for full custody of this child and take it away from his friends because they're his friends and that'll hurt him.
Yeah. Yeah. And again,
my goodness.
And could that really happen in life? Because what judge, but then again, that's why this nasty judge that Laurie wanted to use, this judge was just as nasty as Laurie is. I mean, the judge
of her mother's.
Yeah, the judge had absolutely Judge Spitzer. She had no scruples, absolutely no redeeming qualities, which makes sense that a woman like that would want a judge like that.
Yes.
But I'm like, what kind of court would take a child from a loving family and put it with a woman who had an abortion? Why would you give the child back to the mother who wanted to abort this child? Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
And I know there have been cases of babies being switched at birth and the child being taken away and given to the birth parents, but
yeah.
I don't know of any where an abortion was supposed to take place.
Yeah,
wrong? Maybe there's some out there.
And I do want to preface what I'm saying here. I want to be very clear. I am against abortion, but I understand there is grace for people who have had abortions.
Of course.
Abortion is not the unforgivable sin. God forgives abortion if you are repentant and you realize your sin and you repent for it. So I'm not saying that anybody who's had an abortion is a horrible person like Laurie is. So I just want to be clear with that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not
what we're saying.
No, absolutely not. I do want to say places where the book really shine, and we're not going to tell you how the trial turns out because we're just not.
Yeah. Got to read it, find out. Like
you got to read it and find out. I did think, I kind of wondered if that's where it was going, the trial.
Yes.
But where the book really shone for me, whatever the correct grammar is, was specifically in conversations between Daniel and his secretary. I enjoyed I think it came about in the middle of the book. It was him witnessing to her and her asking questions And I just thought, I was like, this is what I'm looking for right here, because I thought it was
a clear presentation of the gospel.
Yes, and it was really well written. I thought they were both very much in character. He was speaking from his experiences, and he was putting it in terms that someone who wasn't truly familiar with the story of Jesus would understand, and he was doing it without being condescending.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really well written, and it really did move me. I thought it was a great piece of writing.
Yeah.
That was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole book. When he has people talking together about faith, that's when it shines. That's when the book shines.
And saving faith at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like I did, but I did not dislike this book.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. If I dislike a book, I can't read it. Like, I'll get 30 or 40 pages into it. Heart of Darkness. Never finished it. Wrote 2 book reports on it. A's both times. Never finished the book. Horrible book.
That's an impressive feat.
All you got to do is just keep writing and hope they don't figure out you have no idea what you're talking about.
Word salad.
That's Cusco's poison. The poison for Cusco. You get that reference? Congratulations.
I don't.
It's okay. Yeah, you just got to know. So this was.
Yeah. It's all in the magic of wording.
A little pretentious, especially in a college paper. You're golden.
You're golden.
That's the only assigned book in school that I've never finished. Horrible. I can't finish a book I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I read this book in one day.
You read it in one day.
I did. I read it in one day. It's not uncommon for me, but it's been a while since I've done it. I used to read the Left Behind books.
Oh, me too. Well, I never read them in a day, but yeah, loved those.
I would try to put them down. I'm like, oh, one more chapter.
Yeah.
I'm up at like.
When you're an avid reader, one more chapter doesn't exist.
It doesn't work out.
No.
So I did not dislike this book. I'm not saying I disliked it. I'm not saying he's a bad writer, because he's not.
No.
There were parts I didn't care for. But you know what? Sometimes even in books I love, there are parts I don't care for.
Yeah.
He clearly knows, he knows more about writing than I do, because he's published. Kudos to him. But I think overall it was a good book. I think someone who likes thrillers more than I do might enjoy it more than I did. It's, again, I'm starting off in the negative, because I'm not a person who likes to read a thriller or a mystery. It's just, it's not me. I like some romance. I like a little bit of fantasy and things like that. This isn't my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was a decent book.
Mm-hmm.
And I might read a later book of his to see, because I know even stuff I wrote when I was, 14, I looked back on when I was 20 and went, oh.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
No. No.
Why did I like that?
Azure eyes. What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The ravings of a teenage girl.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see, because even a grown person, your writing style is going to grow and change as you write more.
Yeah, and I always say, never judge an author by their first book, because you learn to do better as you write more books. I'm a perfect example of that. My first 4 books were 3,000 pages long.
They were horrible.
Hush. I don't want them to know that.
So hard to get through them.
Yeah. My books were so long, but I finally realized, okay, less is more in a book, especially in this day and age where people, let's be honest, they have a little bit of an attention problem. And so don't judge an author by their very first book, because if they're a serious writer and are paying attention to what they're doing and are paying attention to what their readers are telling them through the reviews, hopefully they're getting better. So, yeah. So that's my one thing to you listeners out there. don't discount an author if you don't like them based off of their very first book.
Itch.
Please.
I'm sorry, y'all. My nose itches. Okay. Or even a writer's first book in a specific genre,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that can make a difference too, because you're navigating something that's different.
Yeah, it can take you a while to hit your groove, you know.
Yeah.
So even
But I did not dislike this book. I enjoyed the book. Like I said, I read it in one night.
I read it in about a week, but
so I mean, I was under a time crunch, so a little bit of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But I did read it. I did not skim it. I read it.
Yeah,
I promise.
And I'm an avid lover, like mystery, suspense, thriller. That is my jam when it comes to reading. And it was kind of a middle of the road book for me. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, I don't know that I will move. But again, you can't really judge me on that because I'm not a series book reader. I have books that I love and I haven't read the entire series because I get bored with them.
Yeah. I don't know that I'll read it. We don't know that we'll read it for the podcast, but I might read another book in the series down the line.
Podcast, yeah.
Just for reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I do read any more of his, I may go to his very last book to compare it to you know, and if I just really love it, we may a year or so down the road. We're not going to get in the habit of doing the same author.
No, we want to keep some variety.
Yeah, we want to keep some variety, and we want to you know, celebrate other authors. But you know, if I read his last book and be like, oh my goodness, this is great. Maybe in a year or two we may
revisit.
Yeah. So
revisit.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to?
No.
No,
I think that's probably it. Do you want to? We should probably tell them where they can find us on social media before we sign off.
You can find us on Bookish Introverts podcast on social media. We are on YouTube, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We are on Instagram.
On YouTube, we're under Brett Nelson. That's my author channel. So yeah, we're not under. But if you go to Google and type Bookish Introverts podcast, it'll pull up all of our episodes.
Yes. Instagram. We're on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Also, is that also under your name?
Those are under Bookish Introverts podcast.
Bookish Introverts podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm fixing to go on vacation, but I am working on trying to get us some kind of TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok. So we can be on Book Talk.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
And we can be on Book Talk, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I can try to help you with that if you want. I had TikTok at one time. You can also, if you would like to email us, we're at bookishintrovertspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any book recommendations,
yes,
we'll be happy to entertain those. Right now, we're kind of enjoying picking our own books, but maybe at some point we'll, feel free. We'd love to reach out to you. The way the algorithm works on social media these days is that, you know, if I post something on Facebook and nobody interacts with it, Facebook won't show it to anybody. Like Facebook will show my post to like say 20 people. I have 1,000 friends on Facebook. We have like I think 30 followers on Facebook on our Facebook the podcast Facebook page, and you also like Facebook will show it to a very small number of people. If those people like your post, comment on it, share it, all this stuff, then Facebook will spread it out and show it to even more people. But if people read your post and don't interact anyway, they won't show it to any more people.
Is this not the land of the free?
No.
What the heck, Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, and it's so frustrating because it's, you know, and a lot of people are lurkers. They watch your content, you know, and I'm not going to say that's bad because sometimes I do it too. I don't like every single thing I watch. Yeah, but yeah, and especially for Christian content, you know, if you watch any of our content or listen to any of our content, especially on YouTube, well, and on Facebook or any of those as well, interact with our posts. That way, that'll sort of force Facebook.
Even if you just want to yell at us, you can yell at us.
Yeah.
We can take it.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Tell us Melanie's having a bad hair day. I would love to hear that. Not that you're having
got my hair cut.
Not that you're having a bad hair day.
My stylist is going to come after me. I thought she did really good.
She did do good. I was just being naughty. Shocking.
He's being a pain.
Shocking. I know. Yeah. So that, is that it?
I think that's it.
Is that it? I think that's all of the social media we have. So I guess we will wrap it up. Our next episode coming up, we're going to have another author interview.
Yes.
Her name is C.O. Weiler, and she writes books about the rapture. She has 2 books. I think is it called Untaken? I think it's called. Don't quote me on that. I think it's called Untaken, but I could be wrong on that. Okay. I'm only about 2 chapters into the book, so I'm not really.
I haven't started
totally
yet.
Invested in it yet. So yeah, I don't have all the details down. But I think it's called Untaken or something like that. We'll know what the title is by the time we record the episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you enjoy listening to author interviews, that'd be a great one to tune into.
Be sure to tune in.
So yeah. All right. Well, you want to say anything before we head off?
Can't think of anything.
Have a happy vacation.
Thank you. I'm going to go see some of my family.
Going to see some of your family. Yeah. So I'm guessing you like them since you're going to see them.
Well, yeah, some of them.
Sometimes.
They're okay.
They're okay. Yeah.
They're all right.
Well, have fun with that. Be safe.
Thank you.
Don't think about the podcast while you're gone. Or do. That would.
Well, I might need to be reading that book, so.
That's true. Yeah, you will need
it's
to.
It's okay. I got a long car ride to read it in. So, I'll probably.
And knowing you'll have it read by the time you get there. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We
thank you.
We appreciate you. We're a new podcast, so I know sometimes you like to listen to people you recognize. So we really appreciate the people that do take the time to listen to us.
Yes.
And we will be back in 2 weeks with another great podcast.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Bookish Introverts podcast, where together we explore the worlds within the pages. Until next time, stay bookish.